All right, hello, welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. Joe's connecting right now, but you can't hear him because I left him muted because I'm smart and know how to use OBS. But now he's unmuted and we can hear him talk. So yeah, we're gonna play some Ultraviolet Grasslands tonight. Not only that, we're probably gonna finish our little campaign here, our Prophets of the True Mother campaign. I think we're near the end. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if anyone survives, if everyone survives, if some of them survive, and what state are they in when they survive, which should be really, really fun to also figure out too, because UVG, we have a ghost in the party for crying out loud. So we can do all sorts of crazy things, right? So yeah, but we have a lot to get to hopefully sort of fit this in tonight. Let's just dive right into character introductions. And so Joe, you're up. Who are you? Who are you playing?
All right. I'm Joe with the Defenders of Kobold, and I'm playing Ensen, the Musclemancer, who recently got even more muscle from some sort of operation that was definitely worth the money and all of the heroics I threw at it. So
Yeah. What's like, so two questions. This is I'll probably ask everyone the same question. What's something we don't know about your character as this is the finale? What's a little detail we might not know about your character? Maybe something you intended from the beginning or something you think about like history of character, something like that. And then like how do you feel about this holy mission that you've been on? You a believer, skeptic? Where's Ensign on
um,
that?
something you don't know about him. I pictured him being like more of a salesman that maybe they're involved in like some sort of MLM that deals with like health products or like steroids. And that's kind of what I pictured him
Those
being in.
protein powder shakes and
Yeah,
vitamins.
something in that, but just hasn't really come into play.
Yeah.
And as far as being a believer, I definitely think he's like full in. He was
Mm-hmm.
pretty sold on the true mother, like having peak physique in his eyes.
Yes.
So
I think
he's
you set that as the truth from the very beginning. Like you established
yeah,
that concept, and
that's
that
what would
has
get
held
him
through.
in. So
Yes,
you
that
know,
held through. I vaguely do remember that the whole protein shake thing because I think you and Bert's character showed up around the same time because you're both
yeah,
Safranians, and I think
we're
that's what
supposed
it
to be
was.
merchants, both of
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, that's how it happens. All right. Speaking of characters that just sort of just popped up out of nowhere, Melissa, tell us about Fibia. We don't know her very well.
No, so she is a great folk. So Fibia Thon, so Fibia is like her rank within the group, and Thon is like her name. Um, something that she had in her first sack of gear was the quartzite tooth of a space worm, which is just fantastic. I don't know what the hell that means, but
Mhm.
there are space worms, and I suppose she's hoping to see a space worm in person, and maybe this whole true mother thing is a kind of step there. She definitely um believes that she is like even more of a like true prophet than the rest of these are, just because she managed to get two keys and they had
Mhm.
one key.
Mhm.
So like we're all called, but she's like special called. So
She
if
was called
there's
first.
Plot device.
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
if there's some sort of
Plot accelerator.
if we get there and everybody's treated the same, she's going to be real mad.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Get where exactly?
To the true mother.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Okay. All right. Bert, tell us about Khalil.
Leelabu at your service, the humble Safranian coffee merchant. Sometimes surgeon.
Sometimes surgeon, and a coffee selection
Of magical beans.
yeah, of
That
magical
will
beans that do-
invigorate or lay you low.
Yes.
Whatever your mood for the day is.
Bottom row, we've got our, for the last time, our snot bubble. Tell us about Tango Carne, Chuck.
Tango Carne, he's like a ghost. but I think you knew that. Yeah, his real name's not actually Tango Carne. But one time he did possess a body for a while. It was a street merchant who made carne asada, and so he was just a real big fan of that. So he just kind of like, how can I incorporate this? And yeah, he came up with the name Tango Carne.
Is Tango his actual first name?
No, he just thought it sounded neat. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know his real name?
Yeah.
What is it? What's his real name?
It's William Bill Williamson.
Yeah, it's probably smart to go Tango Carne.
Yeah.
No one gets intimidated by William Bill Williamson.
Right. His nickname was the Triple Dubs, and he did not like it.
Fair enough. Next, we have our Violet City Cat Lord, MSG. Jeremy, tell us about MSG.
Yes, I'm Mercutio Sabro Giovanni. I'd like to think for the most part I've presented myself very much as I am. I would say, apparently in my background, I was originally a secret occultist. Don't even really know what that means. I just had dreams of a lost world, and the whole True Mother thing came up. She'll get me to space. That'll get me to this lost world, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. The Azure cultist stuff, like one of the interesting things about UVG is like there's so much, it's like rich with all that kind of stuff, like in both like the character creation stuff, but also like when you go through the different destinations, there's just so many like just prompts for creativeness that like it could be whatever you want it to really be. Just sort of riff off it however you want, which is really, really interesting. Let's see. And are you a believer? Is MSG a believer? Like you drinking the Kool-Aid?
Oh, of course. I mean, he channeled her.
Yeah.
It's
That's right.
pure
That's
faith.
right. You killed the demon. The demon with the many arms. Yeah.
He's all in. He
pumps
bleeds
through his
Kool-Aid.
veins.
Kool-Aid pumps through his veins. Okay. All right. And then finally, we've got Satrap 418 Teapot 2.0 or 1.0 or
Half
version,
0.5
something.
beta version.
Yeah. Tell us what about Teapot?
Teapot doesn't remember even this about himself. That at some point in time he was supposed to be hunting an intruder from the void.
That's true. You know where the void is space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, void is space. Yep.
So he was supposed to be hunting someone from there, and he also still has a gray cube that weighs 5 times more than lead in his inventory. What it does, he also doesn't remember.
Gray cube. Okay. All right.
Just a large gray cube.
Large gray cube. Okay. How big are we talking? Are we talking like cantaloupe size?
I don't know. It doesn't say, but
Yeah.
it says it's 5 times more than lead, so I assume it's heavy.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't know what to do with it, but he's got it.
That would be a funny twist if MSG, Jeremy says in chat, was the hunter from the void that you've been hunting this whole time. You didn't know it, and now you know it even less. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's get started. We got a lot to go through. I tried to do a brief summary of the campaign to now, hitting the high marks. So here's my attempt. This is, if you've ever watched like Supernatural, this season finale of Supernatural, they do that whole big montage before. And so this is that. Several months ago, most of the caravan members arrived in the Violet City, plagued by strange visions of a colossal woman known as the True Mother. Horned rat masters and an accountant named Circleangelo were testing inhabitants of the city, trying to look for individuals that received such visions, and they found you all. And once found, you were given a holy mission, funding for a caravan, and a large slab of Sarah metal, and tasked with journeying west into the grasslands and recovering artifacts that would help you all ascend into the sky like the shamans of old. That was the travel quest that you all picked. You picked this. You opted into this. During that journey, you befriended an ancient Vomish queen, and you helped free her consciousness from that decaying body. You freed a gargantuan megapede from Rotten God cultist. You engaged in a little bit of a war with some limey nomads who were looking to avenge the abduction and liquefaction of their heroic brother crackers, whose skeleton may or may not still be working for you all. It's hard to tell the difference. Who really knows?
We
right?
believe. We believe.
You believe. Yeah. You have faith. You ran delivery for the Purple Haze body snatching network. You briefly gated to a city filled with machine gods, and Tango was able to be freed by the reappearance of the Vomish Queen Mother, who had merged with part of that megapede. And of course, you have been receiving more visions from the True Mother. Now, the composition of the caravan has slightly changed from the beginning several months ago. You had a bunch of humanoid workers to start, but now you have skeletal adherents. You've got some stranded thieves and documentarians. I think at one point Tango overtook the body of a real pain in the ass professor or something like that. You've collected a semi-sentient battle ass. You have the battery-powered backup consciousness of a satrap. And most recently, I have acquired a great folk archaeologist and an absolute True Mother believer. All the while, you have been sort of dutifully collecting these keys, the last of which was buried deep in the biomechanical heart of a Vohm autofac, perhaps defended, maybe, by a demonic sentinel whose head was partially comprised of a crystalline sextant used by the True Mother that seemingly marked the site of your ascension. And then you collected all these keys, the caravan, you opened up that Cerametal slab finally, you started plugging in these keys like batteries. And when that happened, kind of a gate opened, the sextant was put in place and sort of seemed to point into where that ascension was. And we are now caught up to this moment where you all are staring at a glowing gateway. Some of you had bad experiences stepping through gateways before, but you see this glowing gateway before you. And you think it's pointing to this site of ascension, at least if your most recent vision is to be believed. So we'll pick up right there. And what do y'all want to do?
I mean, let's go.
Yeah. Last time I was
Yeah.
on the other side of one of these, it was terrifying. And then I came to the other side of it. It was marginally less terrifying.
I don't remember if I even ever saw the portal.
You did not. I don't think you ever saw it. No. I think you were like running trash or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think I was busy with other things. So I imagine I would be looking at this and be like, why are you guys so apprehensive about this portal? Like, come on.
It'll be fine. Manmeat, would you carry me over the threshold, please? I'll just kind of shrink down into his arms and let him carry me.
Okay. You see MSG and Manmeat just slip in through the gateway. Now the gateway, by the way, is not big enough to bring your caravan. So like your big old burden beast, your megapede, segment, none of those are big enough. This is like basically a large double door. So anything, any of your big, you can carry some of your equipment and things like that, and you can even, if you want to, bring some of your adherents. But like your major stuff isn't gonna make it.
But the important question, can the battle ass fit through the door?
That's
of course,
what
yeah.
I was about to ask.
Oh, I am not that. I don't consider myself a dickish GM, but maybe I am. I don't know, but I would never do something like that. I mean, I would certainly kill it somehow in transit, but I definitely wouldn't deny you the opportunity to go through the door.
Was there anything we're supposed to bring with us through it? Do we have any instruction or anything on this
Not that you
aspect
know
of our journey?
No, this is
Okay.
all uncharted territory.
Champagne, right?
Mhm.
That's all we
Great.
need to bring. Bottles of champagne.
I'll just hop on through then.
Okay.
Our unwavering faith in ourselves should be good enough for the True Mother.
Okay. Fibia also didn't go through a gateway, so
No,
this
this
is
is-
first time for Fibia and Ensen.
Yes, for both of us, it just seems like this is what we've been doing all this work for. So why would we not go through the door?
Okay.
Yep.
So Fibia, Ensign, MSG go through. But
I
the
hope
rest
I
of
remember you, or maybe I don't, on the other side.
you- Okay. There goes
Another
Teapot.
10 years.
He's just factory reset completely now.
God.
First time opening his eyes. Okay. Anybody else?
I'll go.
Please insert
Okay.
username.
Khalil goes through. Tango, you bring the battle ass, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you pop into the battle ass and you and him go through. Everyone go ahead and make an aura test. You all can take a heroic since it's the start of a new sesh.
Okay, aura test. Oh no.
I rolled better than the first time.
Higher is generally better, but there's no specific DC for this.
I'm gonna spend a heroic to add a d6 to mine because I started with a 9. So now I've got a 14.
Ooh.
Man, a lot
Oh
of.
boy. Okay. So, Joe, how'd you do?
I got a 4.
Okay.
You might be forgetting us instead.
Ensen, you were one of the first to go through. You come out.
Yep.
Your head is just absolutely throbbing with utter pain. Go ahead and roll D4.
Hmm.
Fibia, how'd you do?
14.
3.
Ensen, you go ahead and reduce your thought by 3.
Okay.
3 thought damage. Fibia, 14.
What happens if I'm already at 0 thought?
You take was it a fatigue thing? Is that what it's called?
Think so, yeah.
I think it's called a fatigue. Let me double check.
Go down the
Okay.
track.
Yeah, you go down the track.
Okay.
Just from trying
So
to remember
you're
terminology.
half speed, unless you were already down the fatigue track.
Yeah, grumpy, disadvantage, half speed, half life, coma, and then finally death.
I'm disadvantaged.
Okay, so basically you roll all your tests at disadvantage for the time being.
Oh, wow.
Okay, how did Fibia do?
14.
14? You're fine. Mild unease, a little discomfort, a little disoriented, a little dizzy as you briefly step through, but otherwise seem fine.
Where's
How
the
did Khalil
heroic?
do? What's that?
17.
17. No symptoms whatsoever. You're an old hat at this. No problem at all. This is easy. Tango, you're ultra, so you don't have any effects whatsoever.
Nice.
But go ahead and roll a d20 for your battle ass, nonetheless.
Another 18.
Nice.
Oh yeah, battle ass, no problem
Oh,
whatsoever.
pro.
Coming
Yeah.
through like a thoroughbred. And then MSG,
7.
also horrible headaches. Your head just aches in pain. Roll a d4 and take that amount of thought damage. And then finally Teapot.
13.
13. Gets similar to Fibia. There's some nausea, some discomfort, but it passes pretty quickly. It doesn't seem to be having any major issues with you. Okay. So as you all step through, some of you are like grabbing your heads in pain. Some of you are grabbing your stomachs in nausea. Others are just moving through without any issues whatsoever. You look around and you arrive in the shadows of what looks like some kind of deep crevice or canyon. You look above and you can see like far above you, like this faint blue sky still hovers. You can still see the haze that covers the entirety of the grasslands and everything. And in between that kind of tissue paper thin haze, you can periodically see like the fast stars scroll by in the sky. So you're still in the grasslands is basically what that suggests. But the blueness of the sky is different from where you've just left because it was very brown, the fallen umber area. So you've traveled a somewhat significant distance, it seems. Looking at the walls of the crevice, they extend probably about 10 stories high, all the way up to like what you see high above the ridge. And on the kind of the interior of the wall, you see kind of this honeycombed structures all throughout. Looks like apartments, vaults, factories, all sorts of different things. As you're just looking around near you, like it has this, it doesn't seem like the types of apartments that you have seen at like the Violet City, or any of the other cities or locations that you've ever visited, either in the grasslands or throughout. This has kind of an overly efficient quality to it. Like it seems almost like this is some kind of sort of secure vault type structure, like something where like almost like an ark like the idea of like this careful and efficient placement of these apartments here and there, and you're just kind of split down the middle. And all around you, you can see the corpses of what looks like some kind of proto-human. And they're desiccated in these strange, kind of obtuse ways. You see these overly long arms, these crescent moon-shaped skulls. They're a little bit bigger than most of you all, but not overly so. And coating everything, literally everything, is some kind of preservative crystalline layer. It seems to kind of almost like a protective layer to it, like an amber in some ways. And you can see beneath it, it's translucent, it's no problem. But as you're wandering through some of these cubicles and moving about, you can actually see these old like motivational posters and like weird calendars that almost look familiar, or like cubicle claustrophobic type work. You see worn toys of like children, these little instruments that are scattered around, even like these makeshift mini playgrounds. Bells and frozen clocks for a time that doesn't really seem to align with the way people tell time nowadays. But all of it seems entirely like preserved. What do you guys like to do?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do we see anything that suggests space around here?
No, I mean, you look up and you see blue sky, so you think you're still on the grasslands.
Is there? So there's this like crystalline stuff all over everything. Is there any piece I could like try and break off and kind of see what it's, if it's like brittle or?
Yeah, you're strong enough. You're strong enough that you could probably, it takes a little doing even for you, but you're able to eventually break off a chunk of it. You're not entirely sure what it is. You could try to roll some kind of thought test on it if you wanted to try to figure out like what the substance is, but it doesn't look immediately similar to anything that you've seen before other than crystalline.
7.
Yeah, it doesn't look too familiar to you, unfortunately. There's nothing you can, like, comparing it to. There's really nothing that you can think of off the top of your head that this seems similar to. Crystal is probably the extent of what you've been able to say. But it does seem to protect everything quite nicely. Once you break apart, like, the bits underneath it, you can, like, a almost completely intact toy or musical instrument that was laying on the ground of this kind of split open, cracked open arc. And that's what the crevice kind of canyon feels like. It almost feels like an egg that's been cracked open, like it's not supposed to be open.
Does the crystal react at all to me breaking it?
No, doesn't seem to.
Okay.
I guess maybe try and look around for some of the posters or whatever to see what their purpose was.
Yeah, maybe if there's any sign of any activity that's gone on over the crystal, like if there is even any dust or anything like that.
Sure. So as both MSG and Teapot split up, you look around. MSG, you would notice there is like gray dust here and there, but it's not caked in any like large quantities. It's possibly maybe like blowing down from like the canyon way up above, but other than that, like you don't really see any signs of like footprints. Looks like you all are like the only ones who've probably stepped here in eons. Like this looks like a place that has not seen the light of day, that has not seen attention for a significant period of time. Teapot, as you're kind of going through some of these cracked open kind of cubicle offices and apartments and things like that, the language isn't familiar to you. Like you see like actual language, but there are plenty of like infographics here and there. So like you can kind of deduce just from looking at them. A lot of it looks like it almost looks like, emergency exit routes. They're kind of directing people to where like certain hatches are, or directing people to where they're like, where they should go. You can get a sense like this is, you are here, and arrows kind of take you around this honeycombed architecture. Others seem to be more like directions on how to use certain now like destroyed or encased like machinery, things like that. But nothing that you can translate perfectly, but it all just seems like infographics for how to do things or how to move about. You've seen stuff like this probably
Day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, nothing like really like flamboyant or too interesting to it.
Well, we got sent here for something.
Thon wants to look around for some type of like manager's office, like some other type of room or structure around the cubicle area.
Okay.
The overseer.
Okay, so you want to look for some kind of like, yeah, okay. So go ahead and why don't you roll like a thought test as you try to look through all these rooms, try to calculate which of these rooms is, might have some greater importance.
I'm curious too. So, did the other end of our portal have like another station associated with it, or did we kind of just pop out in the middle of nowhere?
No, there's a gate right down here. Yeah, like you look down. Okay. Yeah, so as you turn around and look, you see a gate, and it looks exactly like the one that you all just stepped through. It has the same sort of mobile quality to it, but you can also notice that like it seems like some of the it doesn't look like anyone's really used it in quite some time. Like it's just been sitting here without any kind of effect for who knows how long.
Okay. But is the gate also covered in the crystal stuff? Like,
no,
is it covered?
No, it's not. It's like the only thing that isn't really.
Okay.
I guess to further that question, does the crystal stuff stop before it reaches the gate, or does it look like the gate was brought in on top of the crystal structure?
The second. Looks like the gate was brought in on top.
Okay.
Lil will pause, look around and say, I think we're being exceptionally rude. Perhaps we should simply introduce ourselves. Hello!
Khalil, you shout out hello, and like it just echoes throughout like this long cracked crevice. You can hear it like weaving in through like the different cubicles and kind of coming back at you. You listen carefully, you wait a moment, and other than the sounds of everybody else around you, like all the other people in your party, you don't really hear any immediate response.
I was mistaken. It is the room that is rude, not us.
It was a good try.
You do notice, though, I'll say, as you shout, that you see almost like a flock of maybe birds or something suddenly fly overhead as there's a little bit of a shadow that crosses over top of you. It just has that perfect timing. You're not sure if it means anything or if it's just, it's the first sign of activity, but that's way above like the crevice wall.
So like cubicles, like office cubicles?
Yeah, like they all like seem like these little honeycomb pockets, and some of them, and they look like they work like workplaces and things like that. There's certainly tunnels here and there, like hallways, but a lot of them are just kind of covered in like what looks like layer after layer after layer of this protective crystal that took like Ensen like a good 10 minutes just to get a small chunk off.
So, okay, like this is like, like an office building. Like at one point, I knew a guy who had experience with this. Like, if there's someone here, this will do it. And I want to yell out, you forgot the cover on the TPS report.
You shout it
Anything?
out.
Yeah.
With your full
Ghost
oxygen
voice.
Lungs of your ghost voice. And there is, again, no response. 50, how'd you do in that thought test?
That was a 12.
Okay, that's good enough. 11 was the DC. You do find, and maybe it's because you're trailing Teapot a bit as he's looking through some of these rooms, you do find what looks like at kind of like a nexus of where a lot of these different rooms interconnect. What looks like some kind of double door situation where it's partially cracked open, and you see like an arrow on the side of the wall next to the door that points up, and then there's nothing that points down. You see a little thread of something above the door that has a series of symbols on it that don't really make much sense to you. But looking at it, and like there's this thin layer of crystal like between you and like the inside of this boxy room. It seems to suggest with that thought test that this has some kind of upward propulsion, like a lift or an elevator or something like that.
So Thon will turn around to everyone and say, the way seems to be over here.
Okay.
All right.
Although I'm
We're
looking
very lucky that
just-
you here to guide us.
I hope so. Do we have any other maybe faster ways that we can get through this? It seemed like even with all of that one's strength, it still took some time, and that darn crystal's just coating everything, including the way through.
I can get
Maybe
through
if he
real
were
quick.
to use his hands as like a chisel of some sort.
I could try that.
Okay.
Um,
Got a
yeah,
gun.
I wanna make one of my hands a chisel and the other hand a hammer and like try and
Okay.
chip through it.
So your little like holographic hands, and you start
Yeah.
hammering into the into this layer of crystal. It takes like an hour, maybe a little bit more, but eventually you are able to get through. Like there's all sorts of spider like cracks and things like that you're able to start pulling apart. And as you do, you realize it's maybe about a foot in terms of thickness, but once you get through that foot, it's just empty pocket of space, like this hermetically sealed area, and like this strange gust of peculiar smelling, like dust and air kind of comes in your direction. Doesn't, you can't cough a little bit, but other than that, it seems fine.
Ancient farts.
When you look down, you see that there's this corpse in the bottom of this room, much like the ones that you've seen covered elsewhere. Like it's horribly it's somewhat preserved, but it's still fairly desiccated. Suggests like significantly old, but it's got that same kind of large crescent moon type skull. It's got those really long, gangly limbs here and there, likely like an 8-9 foot tall creature. And it's got these old clothes. It almost looks like a uniform, but it's sort of double-breasted, kind of buttoned-up top, laying, and that's probably where some of the foul smell was coming through.
Was it holding anything, or did it look like it was trying to do anything?
No, you don't see anything like. You don't see anything nearby. There is like I would say like it is kind of laying on top of, looks like some kind of tablet here and there, but it looks all cracked and sort of broken or drained of some kind.
Can I try some sort of like necromancy something or another to try to communicate with this?
What are you trying to do? Like you just want to you want to try to raise it?
Sure.
I would say you would probably so as a graphic you could probably animate it so that it's moving around with you. You could potentially do that, much like your skeletal workers and things like that. That's probably what you could do, but you don't really see a whole lot of biomatter left on this thing, so you're not sure how much the communication would work. But you could certainly raise it and have it like following you around and things like that. But it would be more like one of those mindless skeletal workers that you have in your caravan.
Well, I mean, we weren't able. Did we bring our skeletons with us?
We opted to not, since no reason.
Why not? I'm gonna flex my necromancy skills.
Sure, roll necromancy.
Would that be thought?
I think it's
And
thought. Thought
necromancy?
makes the most sense
Okay.
to me.
So +6. Oh, that's a 9.
Okay. I mean, it'll pop up briefly, but it won't stay up for very long. Like you'll see it kind of animate, move around a bit. Maybe it's moving around for like 5 or 10 minutes here or there, but eventually it starts to shamble and break down once more. Maybe it's just that the bones themselves are so old, you're not really sure exactly, but
That is going to be the explanation that Thon will provide. It clearly didn't have anything to do with her lack of skill at this.
Yeah. You see it kind of immediately as it pops up, it kind of reaches for this, what looks like an array of buttons on the inside of this room. But it kind of starts hitting a few of them. The lights begin to sort of illuminate on these buttons. You feel like a shudder to the room that it's in as you're standing in this small little room, and it looks like but it's like not moving for some reason.
It's like an elevator that got trapped or something, perhaps. Is that something we could deduce by looking around at the room a little more? In
Yeah.
the panel.
Yeah. Roll like an engineering or some kind of test there, Teapot.
Oh, I just have foam tech now, so
That'll work. I'll take that.
Okay.
It's not perfect, but it's the same kind of like machinery type stuff.
17 should be all right, I hope.
Oh yeah, that's plenty. You think it's supposed to go up, and considering that the interior of the room, like despite the crack in the like the doors cracked open, not being filled up, you think that maybe even the shaft above, it's possible it could be empty, like it might not be filled, and it might more be like it requires the doors to be shut as opposed to like anything else. Like the doors themselves, like every time you go to hit a button, you feel them as they try to close, but there's people kind of lurking and peering in and stuff and preventing them from closing.
Everybody get inside.
Okay.
Or don't,
All right.
or get out.
Seems a little bit cramped here. I'm used to a little bit more personal space, but okay.
I'm all right.
Bat traps don't fart, I don't think.
Thank
I
you
hope not.
for
You're in that suit. Like,
Sure.
Oh God, that'd be terrible.
yeah.
I want to say that Phil sort of like pops his head out and kind of shakes his head as if to disagree with that statement.
So yeah, you all huddle in, doors close, and you feel it begin to ascend. It's kind of shuddering at first. It's a little unnerving, but it kind of moves up and kind of herky jerky motion, and eventually it comes to a stop with a bit of a thud, and then the door ding, opens up, and you got another one of those sort of sheens of crystal. But Ensign's able to use his, you don't have to reroll for that. It takes a little time again, but eventually you're able to kind of hammer through. And you see what looks like this long hallway, kind of dark. There's some kind of like old crystalline lights and such along the way that sort of illuminate here and there as you pass by, but they don't really seem to flicker on until you do. And eventually it leads to what looks like some kind of metallic or cerametallic like staircase, and then there's like this heavy double door at the top. But the door itself is kind of on an angle, so it's not like vertical, but more like on a 30-degree angle.
Perhaps we found the stairway to heaven.
I mean, it could be.
I've heard tales of it in song.
You would think with their advanced technology, it would be an escalator to heaven. I mean, we have to walk.
That's a fair point.
Well, I guess let's.
We've come
I'll
this far.
head up it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm a little upset that it's not an escalator too. Just want to go
Yeah.
on record.
So you like the doors themselves are very difficult to open, but with 6 of you lending aid, and especially with Ensign's like ridiculously overpowered strength, you're able to eventually like burst through this. Like all sorts of dust and debris, looks like ferns and plant growth that you don't necessarily recognize, just kind of cave down in on you as you push, almost as if like the doors themselves were somewhat buried by layers of sediment. But eventually you push through, and you seem to be on the top of like the canyon, like you're up on the surface. When you were down at the very base when you first came in the gate, when you looked up, it looks like you've broken through to the top. And when you look around, and when you step out here, those of you with physical form, you notice first of all that the gravity feels very strange and feeble, and you can kind of feel yourselves taking, like when you take a step, kind of leap up into the air a little bit higher than you intended. Like everything is just sort of throws you off just a little bit. You also notice that like the horizon looks really peculiar to you. Like it just doesn't, like, you know, like there's times when you look at the grasslands and you kind of see this endless array of almost like nothingness, but like there's something sort of peculiar about the way in which the horizon kind of bends on the distance. It's hard to really kind of pinpoint exactly why it's bothering you, but you look around and there's like all sorts of these really strange looking forests of like lichen and these really tall looking mushrooms here and there with these, like you got these big old craters as well, like something is smashed into there or fallen into the top of it, like these huge craters where like maybe smaller meteors or asteroids or something like that kind of fell down into it. And you can see like piercing up amongst the canopy in the distance, there's like not maybe about 2 miles away or so, you can see this sort of eerie gray pyramid just sort of peeking up. And as you all are watching and kind of staring around, kind of getting your balance, getting your sense of things, you see for a moment like a broken projector, this flickering of the true mother just over top of the gray period. But it's more motion that you've ever seen her actually show in any of the other things you've seen before. It almost looks like she's like standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down. It's like this. You're not sure if it's like in repeat or if it's stuck on a loop or something, but it's just large flickering of her constantly standing up, sitting down on top of this gray pyramid, and then kind of flickers out.
I mean,
Is there
glutes
any
like
more of
that
that
do
crystal?
require a lot of squats.
Yeah. Is there any more of that crystal stuff up here?
None.
Okay.
None. It just it's definitely like an odd biome up here, like something you're not too familiar with. Like the trees look different, these large mushroom stalks look different, and while every destination within the grasslands has its own uniqueness to it, you've got a couple people, you know, your teapot satrap friend Fibia Thorn, both of Thone, excuse me. Neither of you even probably have been the furthest west, and then Tengu has been around for a really long time as well. It just looks different than any of the other things that you've seen before. There's an oddness, there's an alienness to the sort of the biome that seems a little peculiar. And again, there's something about the gravity feeling off, and the horizon just sort of seems to drop off like quicker than it should in some way. Like, it just doesn't quite make sense as you.
Are we
Does the
still under?
sky still look the same?
I was gonna ask the same question.
It's still that blue sky that you saw at the bottom of the crevice, which again, you see the haze, that like the constant, ever-present purplish haze that covers the entirety of the world. It's like just a constant thing everywhere. It's just a question of how much it occludes the sun. And compared to where you were in Fallen Umber, where it was very dreary and brown, here it's a little brighter. You also, now as you're looking at it, you feel closer to it, like you're
Throw
elevated.
a rock at it.
Not that close.
Okay, all right.
Like you're on maybe a mountain.
Okay.
Hard to say.
Were we in the elevator for that long that we like? kind
It's
of
10
traveled
stories.
up?
You went up 10 stories.
Okay. I mean, the true mother is over there. We should be making haste to.
Yeah.
could
Is
be
there
more.
like remnants of like a road or anything out here? Is there anything connected to this building that we came out of?
No, you don't see anything. Like everything's like overgrown. There's it's like a gray dust / dirt, and where that isn't covering stuff, you see all sorts of these kind of colorful, strange alien type flora and kind of growing here and there. You see stuff moving around as well, like this strange, like certain fauna kind of moving about, like little creatures here and there that don't look too recognizable to any of you. It definitely, again, it's like the idea of like you go to the Galapagos, right, where you have all these weird kind of creatures, and it's kind of got that feel to it, where like there's like this ecosystem here that seems wholly different than any of the ecosystems that you've come across, which, although they differ from one to the next, there's a lot of similarity. At least there's like overlap from one to the next. This just feels different.
Yes, I remember there was a crater for the strange fungus. We found the velocipede. We're fascinated. Also, we should likely be very cautious.
That one, for sure.
But I agree with Fibia. We should press on.
We are.
Cautious? Doesn't that show a certain lack of faith? I mean, if we're this close to the one mother, surely a show of good intention, of good faith here.
Of
Well,
course,
like-
but I'm not going to muck it up this close to the finish line.
Right?
I agree
can
with
go, like,
Khalil.
scout it
If the
out.
true mother is bringing us here, we should believe that it is safe for our travels.
I think so. And I think you should scout it out then. Like, you lead the way.
Well,
Certainly.
Both of you, like,
Forward.
Okay.
wow.
So excitable.
All right. So Khalil and Fibia, you take the lead. Okay. Both of you go ahead and roll a. Hang on. 1 second. Go ahead and roll. Actually, we'll say, Melissa, why don't you roll a charisma test, and then Khalil, just roll a d10. No modifier or anything.
15 for the charisma.
Okay.
That's good because I don't have any charisma.
Okay.
3.
So, 15. As you are kind of moving through like these forests of these like large stalks, these kind of weird, colorful lichen, all throughout this like gray dirt, kind of going down into these craters, skirting around the edges as best you can, trying to. It's a short. It doesn't seem like a particularly long distance to the pyramid. It's just there's a lot of stuff in the way. At one point, like these heavy like bursts of wind just whip through the trees, Fibia, and you can watch as your like your cloak or your hat or something that you're wearing just sort of flies off into the breeze. And as you watch, the breeze catches it. It just continues to float upward and upward and upward to the point where like it's almost it sort of loses the catch of gravity for a bit, and then the wind just kind of takes it off away. And you see it begin to sort of drift downward at some point, but it's a long, long way away.
Thon's actually going to yell back at that point. You might be able to throw that rock and hit the sky, actually.
So yeah, so you end up throwing the rock up, and you do notice, by the way, that it goes up much higher than you are normally accustomed to throwing things. Like you probably know your own relative strength of how far you can throw, and you hurl something, it just sort of flies up way, way higher, like 4, 5, 6 times higher than you're used to being able to throw, to the point where you almost can't really see it anymore. But eventually it comes back down, but the amount of time it takes is like far longer than you would be normally accustomed to. Like gravity here.
So cool.
And so it'd be like, I've always wanted to do this. And he'll start stretching and run and just try and get the longest lawn jump he can do.
And Ensen was never seen again.
Roll a strength test, Ensen.
Okay. I'm going to spend a heroic on it to not do disadvantage.
Okay.
This is
that's right.
certainly an appropriate use of a heroic.
Absolutely.
Best.
As Ensign jumps off the edge of the flat earth.
Right.
Oh God.
17.
So you watch as you guys are coming up to this crater that you see Khalil and Fibia kind of trying to skirt around. Maybe you're up on like the ridge nearly, and you watch Ensign just run and kind of leap, and you just see him just hurtle up into the sky and just continue like the longest like leap of a astronaut on the moon, just kind of going and going, which should have only been maybe at best a 10, 12 foot long jump, turns into 20, and then 30, and then 50, and then maybe 100, and then he goes finally careening down, sliding into the embankment of one of the crater, like almost 3/4 of the way across entirely. Khalil, as you're kind of skirting around the edge, you look down and you can see a lot of the trees and stuff in these mushroom stalks that are growing within the crater are shifting and moving. And you look at as these sort of large, kind of leathery looking herbivores that resemble something maybe mammoth-like, but they, they're enormous. Like they're the size of your megapede segment, and they're just sort of weaving around at the base of the crater, and they kind of reach up with what looks like a sinewy arm / trunk and just start plucking things from underneath the mushroom canopies, kind of like tucking them back into their mouths. But there's like a whole 6 or 7 of them just moving about all throughout the bottom of this crater.
Eat?
You'd hear me yell back, I love this place.
I think Thon will be kind of respectful of the animals and not just sort of watch from afar.
Okay. Ensign, you are able to land. You kind of climb up to the edge of the ridge, and you can almost bypass this entire crater at that point, and you come to a clearing of a sort, where there's maybe about 300-400 yards of relative gray dust, like it's relatively flat between like the ends of this this growth and where that weird looking pyramid is, where you saw the True Mother doing her squats.
Okay.
Or burpees. They were burpees. That's what they were.
Yeah. I'll wait for everyone else to catch up. I'll probably be messing around with this piece of crystal and like clinking it on things and see if it reacts to anything. I'm kind of curious why that whole building was full of this crystal and none of it's out here.
Fair enough.
So.
Thon wants to give this whole jumping thing a try.
Anybody wants to do a jump,
fun.
roll a strength test. Yeah, roll a strength test.
I'm good just walking.
Higher
to
the
do
better.
it too, but just to mock them.
With the are you taking the battle ass, or are you just you can? I mean, you would have no problem flying. You would also notice like you're moving much faster as you're flying through the air. Like there's like less resistance on you. Like you don't feel pulled to sort of the earth as much. You don't have to force yourself vertically as much as in other places.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like battle ass meet me over there, and I'm gonna just like, oh, I'm jumping. Look at me flying through the air. Land next to Ensen, like a couple feet past him. I went further than you, man.
Okay.
I made the joke in chat that Thon is like the kid that like fast walks to the front of the line to get out to recess every day. And so this whole idea that like Ensen is like jumping ahead and might get to the True Mother before her, like she's gotta like jump and kind of get back out front again.
Okay. Melissa's playing herself. I didn't realize. Okay. All right. So if everyone's just either jumping, as long as you roll anything over 11, you're able to jump. The higher you roll, obviously you can jump further, but as long as you roll an 11 or higher, nothing adverse happens to you. It's just a question of distance. But one by one, we'll say all of you, either through kind of careful walking along the ridge or bold leaping, you will make it across this canopy of ferns and mushroom stalks, whether it's along the ridge or whether it's in the air, etc. And all of you, one by one, catch up with Ensen, where he's been messing around with his crystal. Roll a thought test, Ensen, since you've had some time.
All right.
The rest of you, as you get closer, you notice as you're much closer to the
7.
The 7. Yeah, you still can't quite piece it together. As you get closer to the pyramid, you notice that it's not like made of dryland coral, which is the most common building substance in all of buildings and such throughout all of the grasslands. But instead, it's this sort of diaphanous like foreskin. It's like translucent, and you can, as you're watching it, that exterior layer of translucence gives way to this like kind of calcerated series of arteries that are kind of stretching all throughout, and you almost looks like almost like an interior like iron bone frame. Like you're looking at like you're looking through a building with almost like an X-ray vision at like its frame, and something sort of seems strange. But those arteries, those little skating veins and things here and there, something is still kind of pushing through them. Like this feeble push of something shifting from like one section of the artery to the next. Like these big, feeble, dirty, like dusty clumps of things. You're not really sure exactly. You do notice that there are parts of the structure that have been overtaken by what looks like these gibbering prehensile starfish that are roughly the size of you. But anytime you get within maybe 20 or 30 feet, they just kind of recoil and they like scurry away this, in one manner or another. But they're probably, in diameter from some sort of one feeler to the next, maybe 6 to 8 feet in size.
Does it look like they've damaged the structure or something, or are they just kind of on it?
It definitely seems like a sort of a parasitic type feel to it, like they're kind of clinging to it in some way. You're not sure if they're like cleaning particulates off of it or if they're damaging, but it certainly feels like a parasitic kind of relationship with this structure.
I want to try something with my leap. When I do leap, I want to grab my kite and see if I can hang glide with the kite.
Absolutely. Roll a strength test.
It's all right in the sky.
Okay. I am going to, because this is cool, I'm going to spend my heroic ahead of time.
I agree. Hang gliding in role-playing games is very, very cool.
That's right.
Agree.
All right,
Absolutely.
so I got a 15 plus 1, so 16.
16. Okay. Yeah. So you are able to move. Okay. So you hop into the air. You're attached to your kite, and the two of you in one, like even further than Ensign. Not only do you hurl up into the air with a pretty impressive jump onto your own, but then you just kind of coast in using the relative like single wing of your kite, just kind of coast all the way over this crater. Looking down, you see like this whole ecosystem of different creatures. Like you can tell like those big old like almost mammoth looking things, they seem herbivore, they seem very aggressive, but you're able to just sort of coast over top of them, and you end up finally sort of beginning to you sort of eventually feel your descent starting to come down as you approach this pyramid. And as you're up here, you do notice something that the rest of them don't. The shape from this angle is sort of odd. As you look down, it's not so much a pyramid as it almost looks as if something's just sort of folded, like almost like an elbow or an arm. And it's not so much like a 4-sided or 3-sided pyramid, but it's more just like a very sharp fold of something. And as you're looking, you notice actually two other things. I'm sorry. You notice that, first of all, you can actually see much further as you get very high up. And you realize that like the idea of the horizon kind of sloping down is 100% true. And you get the feeling that you guys are on some sort of spherical object, but this spherical, like with really tight curves at the the far ends, but somehow it's like above the rest of the grasslands, because as you look way off in the distance, you can still see like these mountains and plateaus and such. It's almost as if like, again, you're on a mountain that seems to be higher up than any mountain really should be right now.
Okay. I'm going to try and control my flight, so after I see all these things, I can loop back around and kind of drop back down to closer to where everyone else is.
Oh yeah, with a 16, that's plenty good, and you're able to kind of curve back around and sort of very carefully. It takes a while as you're spinning around a bit, but eventually you very gently land within 50, 100 feet of everybody. No problem.
So I'll report everything you just said with the guys, we're in a snow globe.
Really?
What?
And then just describe everything Jeff's just said there.
Fibia, Tango, and Teapot. Go ahead and roll a thought test. Teapot, do yours at... Actually, yeah, do yours at disadvantage because you do have a memory loss issue we're contending with.
Oh, no.
15 is the number I'm looking for here.
All right, well, that's a good one to start with. Let's see how the second one goes.
And also, everyone can now take another...
Gosh, nice. I got a 19.
Okay. Tango, you maybe haven't been here before, but you've heard of a place. As Khalil kind of describes this, you've heard of a place called the Near Moon, which is very much a spherical moon that is literally hovering above the surface of the grasslands. It's several weeks to the west of Fallen Umber. It's near it's sort of near Spectrum Run, and so once you start kind of mentioning it, then Teapot, like your Spectrum memory will kind of come back to it. It's very near sort of Spectrum territory, and that there are these, like there's a whole settlement that is sort of built up beneath, like in the shadow of the near moon on the surface, like on the ground, like a city. Like there's tourists that kind of come and they live off the drippings of what's coming down from this strange kind of alien ecosystem that has grown on top of a literal moon within the ultraviolet grasslands, hovering above the surface of the earth. Does that make sense? Is that a clear? Do you guys understand what I'm sort of describing? You have literally a celestial object hovering above the ground. And it's enormous.
Like halfway to space.
And the gravity on it is just messed up, and all sorts of people like try to climb on top of it and search it for weird things, and people die all the time because they misjudge the gravity and fall off the side here and there.
Well, that sounds unpleasant. So let's try and stay on the top.
An idea.
The other thing you notice, I would say, as you guys get a little closer and you look around, you start to see like all of these folds and things like that. They almost like what Khalil was saying as you're looking up. It doesn't really so much look like a pyramid, but just like almost like a folded arm or a leg or a joint. And then as you're kind of tracking your face around, like your eyes around, you actually notice what looks like this eroded angles of almost looks like a nose or a cheekbone, and like this cave appears in the side of this kind of gray structure.
And it's like this whole thing, the True Mother, and we gotta like go and like jump some adrenaline into her heart, and wake her, put some coffee in her, wake her back up.
Say the wake coffee.
Yes.
All right. What would you guys like to do?
I think exactly what he said. I think you're on it. Yeah, from the mouths of babes and all that.
Khalil will get to brewing.
Okay. Now, I should say, like, the cave, the mouth, it's enormous. It's like everything's really, really big.
And like, I assume that we're gonna be like True Mother Scooby snacks, or like the old magic centipede bus.
Turns out my training in spelunking might actually come in handy.
We'll have to deliver the payload a bit more precisely, I'm afraid, as I'm looking at the small amount of grounds that I brought with me, and I'm looking at this huge.
So what are we doing?
I don't know.
Either that, or we should have brought some Chipotle with us to like try and flush the system out. But
Chipotle.
I sincerely do trust your instincts. Maybe we explore the cavern and see if we can find something.
yeah,
But I like your instinct. I trust Khalil's brew.
Okay.
we're speculating like
What?
person
As
shapes. I'm thinking it's like it's actually like a mouth, or would it be like would it be going up the nose?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely aspects of like the structure that look really peculiar to you. It doesn't look like careful geometric construction, like now that you're closer. And so I mean, you're getting this sense as you're looking at this. You remember that vision you had of the True Mother getting up, sitting down, getting up, sitting down. Like, it's starting, there's definitely, maybe your mind's playing tricks on you, but certain angles, certain looks, almost, they sort of take on shapes. Like, that looks like a folded arm, or that looks like a cheekbone and a mouth. Like, all of it kind of looks that way. And you know that she's a colossal, at least in your vision, this colossal woman. So, yeah.
Gosh, cat.
As he's making the coffee, I want to give him my piece of the crystal. Say like, hey, I wonder if you could make this into it or something. Like, I don't know if this is useful, but I can't figure out anything to do with it. My little chunk, however big it was.
Maybe it's just crystallized rock sugar.
Maybe.
Anyone other than Ensen, I should say, is welcome to make a thought test to try to make some sort of conclusion about the crystal here. But
I do, and I do actually taste it.
Nice.
you taste it, and it's bitter. It has a very bitter flavor, not a good bitter either.
17.
17's
One of
good.
those
17,
21.
21's even
net
better.
20.
Wow.
That's a crit.
I would say with a crit, Khalil, you would probably be able to conclude from looking at the way that like the crack in that apartment honeycomb structure was, likely it opened up when it wasn't supposed to, and some kind of protective layer, like protective emergency system, was activated, and likely that crystalline structure was meant to kind of maybe plug holes that weren't supposed to be cracked open from
It's
whatever.
cholesterol.
Well, no.
It's kind of what it does.
Crystal platelets.
Or it's like some kind of emergency foam, like an emergency foam thing that kind of covered everything.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, share that.
All right.
So, MSG, are you spelunking?
I mean, yes, of course. I'm ready to hop in.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks. Plugging holes. All right, so MSG, you lead the way inside this cave, and it's not, it doesn't take long, it's just maybe 20, 30 steps before you kind of come across what looks like some kind of altar. You also notice this very large, kind of ovular door, and you can see there's all sorts of carvings here and there. And as you come in, you can see, as you're kind of going into the entrance, you saw some of those sort of gibbering starfish just sort of scatter and like just flee, as if like, again, they're very nervous about you all. But you come inside and you can see that there's like some kind of altar here and this door-like structure that seems to sort of block the path going forward.
Walk up to the altar and hold my great cube up.
Yeah, you hold the great cube, and the truths of the universe are revealed to Teapot, and he melts before your eyes. You go ahead and roll. Anyone in here who wants to can roll a thought test, if you like.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yay.
That was almost in like ascending order, almost.
That was the best $15 I've ever spent in my life. On Saturday.
Oh god.
Watching Jeremy and Chuck touch feet.
Oh my gosh.
It was intense.
Greatest $15 I've never spent money in went to school, not that important. This way better. Okay. Who got the highest? What's the highest roll?
I think I did with an 18.
You
18.
did.
Okay. Anybody else get over 15 or 15 or higher? I should
Nope.
say? Okay, so 18. So only Teapot then. One thing you notice about the altar is that it is just absolutely covered in blood, like just tons and tons and tons of blood. Now it's dried, but there's like, you can see as you're scraping away at it, like there's layer after layer after layer, as if much blood was spilt and just sort of left to cake here over who knows how much time.
I don't volunteer as tribute. Can we find something else to kill, maybe?
Want me to go in? Can't kill me again, I think.
Is there any signs of like processing around it or bones or anything where like the remains would go?
No. No bones, no flesh, nothing like that. It's just whatever was sort of cut and bled here was taken and used in some other way.
I pour the coffee on it.
Nice.
Don't use it all.
Roll a charisma test. This is pure luck to see if this works.
Coffee is the
Roll.
answer to everything.
I want a 19 plus
Yes.
on this if this is going to work.
I am going to spend my heroic.
Okay.
Yes.
So the
I
best
believe
die
in
will get a
you.
+1.
Oh no.
That sucks.
Everybody get
It's a
their
Six.
heroic for the top of the hour.
Yep.
Yeah, a 6 is not gonna, like, you pour, like, with great reverence, you pour the coffee over top of it. It splits some of the, it kind of cakes loose some of the blood, but it doesn't seem to have any major effect. No, the door remains closed. Nothing like that.
I think we're going to need more beans for this to work.
So
Maybe it likes money.
Fibia just sort of looks at everybody and just says, like, there's blood there. This clearly needs blood. And so she's just going to go do the,
Right.
There's like
later.
animal things out there I can go catch.
Do.
Laid around the palm, just does the cut, squeeze on the table, see what happens.
Okay. When you do that, you see some of the lights on that door, because there's like that, like they illuminate, but it doesn't open. you probably get the sense that the small, paltry amount of blood that comes out of your hand is in no way, it's like just a small percentage of the amount that's needed. And looking at this large altar that is covered and caked in layer after layer of old dry blood, you would probably conclude you need a bit more than just like a palmful.
At least we have scientifically confirmed the effect and need of the blood.
Oh, well played. Well, you know, I'm not a
I'm gonna
stranger
go
to
try
big.
and catch one of those things out there and let's bleed it.
I'll help you.
the starfish?
How gone are those starfish?
Let's do a mastodon. Let's go big game hunting.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you're supposed to be a big game hunter,
So-
aren't you?
Is there any way for me to heal without taking a week?
Not unless somebody has magical abilities to do so.
I have crystal healing.
And you have a really fancy crystal now.
It says use placebo effects to your advantage. Focused magics. So I don't know exactly what that gets me.
I would just like one of my fatigue ticks removed so I don't roll at disadvantage.
If you want to roll, so is it an ability, Dan, or is it
It's a skill.
It's a skill. Okay, so roll. You can roll a skill, and I'll set a DC at 15. It's difficult to
Okay.
remove a fatigue point. If you wanna
What
try it,
what would I use for that?
what do you think is for that? I mean, it's a
I figure it's-
skill.
I
You're
figure
using
it's probably
crystals.
charisma or aura, which I don't have. So
Charisma is more like luck. So, I mean, you could say that like the power of your personality is sort of what charisma is.
it does say
aura-
placebo effects, so I figure thought can't be it.
Yep.
So
I think charisma makes sense then. Yeah.
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 all right, I just wanted to make sure.
Wow, there you go.
There, okay.
All right. Ensen, you can scrap one of your fatigue points.
Awesome.
Amazing.
All right, so
Fantastic.
MSG, you're gonna go big game hunting for one of these mastodon thingies.
I'm probably just like taking the crystal and just awkwardly rubbing it around on him and saying like, "You feel calm. You
Like, this is
feel
great.
Negative
relaxed."
energy from him.
Yeah. I'm going to absorb the negativity.
Right on. MSG, why don't you narrate and describe how you go about hunting down one of these large creatures?
I mean, we've got rope and other various things. I've got my rifle. I think actually what I'd like to do is these things probably aren't used to having a rifle shot around them. I'd actually like to not really shoot at them because I want to save as much blood as possible. What I'd actually like to do is to startle them, make them run, kind of lead them into a trap that we set to make at least a straggler fall. Maybe make a bunch of drugs blow up in its face and make it pass out.
I hand you some sleep coffee.
Okay, so we have sleep coffee, we have your gun. Who's making a trap for this thing?
Thon will assist with that.
Okay. So we'll do okay, so let's just do this like a little mini skill challenge here. So
Okay.
we've got
I'll try to be like the herding dog and like chase it where it needs
Nice.
to go if it doesn't run.
okay, so
the correct
MSG's
way.
MSG we're gonna get like just a regular, range combat shot. Ensign, some kind of intimidation test. Thon, give us some kind of like construction thing. You said you're making a trap from it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So you want to
That's how I'm
create
helping.
some kind of trap using the various flora, fauna, etc. Well, flora really. Okay. So give us some kind of engineering thought test type of thing. Khalil, give us a test for your coffee making because you're trying to make sleep, like some sort of sleep coffee that's strong enough for a creature of this immense size. So I think that's 4 good checks, and I will say higher
Don't
the better.
skip on the beans, Khalil.
Oh, I skimped.
All right.
I'll spend a heroic for an extra d6, and I got an 11.
Oh, the
Okay.
good news is
11's
I
good enough.
roll
11's minimum.
D20 plus. The good news is with my bizarre stretchy body, I'll make myself weeble this way and that.
Oh my
Wow.
Look at that
Oh, God.
26.
That's crazy.
Okay. So what happens is we see MSG very carefully kind of gets into position. You kind of wait. This takes probably a good couple of hours as you guys watch this herd, and you try to wait for one of them separates a little bit out from the others. MSG carefully, quietly, kind of sneaking through the strange brush of the ferns and the mushroom stalks, fires the gun off, which startles it. It begins kind of running in sort of a direction, but not the direction you want. But then Ensen pops up, and with his just massive physique, shouting out, I don't know, how is Ensen intimidating this thing? 18 is great, but how do you do it? How does it look like when Ensen does it?
I think he would just be screaming and like flexing at it in all sorts of ways and trying to jump around. Yeah. Imagine he'd be like bouncing like from, because the gravity is lighter and he was able to jump a lot. So he'd just be like hopping.
And you just see like these big like blue alien eyes just sort of like darting around in like other confusion and terror and just not understanding what it's seeing, and just starts darting off into the, like sort of a westernly direction towards the edge of the crater, where sort of Thon has set up some sort of strange trap by bending maybe like a stalk of a mushroom or something, dug a hole or whatever, and lo and behold, you guys have entangled this creature. But when you try to administer the coffee to it, it doesn't seem to have its sleep effect, and so it remains awake, sort of thrashing around inside of your trap. But it's not very docile, and this thing's huge. How do you want to go about getting this under control so that you can bring it into your sacrificial
Time to bonk
altar?
it.
Well, I tell you what, I will stretch myself around its neck, and then Ensign, you just strangle it. So that way all the blood stays inside.
Okay.
We're being
Oh my
efficient, I suppose.
I mean, so you said it's like a mammoth thing. Does it have like tusks?
No tusks. It has more like this sort of trunk arm that kind of like weaves out like this very long sinewy arm, and it's sort of thrashing about here and there, trying to hit you periodically. But that seems like its only like offensive weapon other than its sheer size. All right, so we watch as MSG elongates his body, wraps it around this massive throat of this large mammoth-like creature, kind of ties himself off at the bottom. Ensign grabs it, and this thing's thrashing around and thrashing around. Ensign, give me a strength test. You can use whatever strength skills you got.
All right. It's only a 12.
12 is fine. It takes a long time, and it's exhausting in the process. But your 11 would have been fine. You have it trapped. Everything's sort of tied down. But it's a horribly sad moment. David Attenborough would be very disappointed as the bulging blue eyes. Been listening to a lot of David Attenborough lately. Bulging blue eyes just become bigger and bigger. The lids eventually droop, and it flops down to the ground. You have successfully killed and smothered this creature without shedding any serious blood. Now,
Poor
fortunately,
innocent creature with its beautiful blue eyes.
with this beautiful blue eyes, you drag it up the side of the crater. Takes a while, but the gravity helps. It's a little bit lighter, but it's still very, very difficult. And eventually, I thought for sure Tango was just going to try to soul juice it. Just like move it over.
I really thought about it, but I didn't want to take this moment away from MSG.
Yeah, it worked out
Gotta
really
go
well.
out with he is a big game hunter. Gotta go out in the final up with some big game hunting.
So you bring it inside this altar. It's the cave is plenty big enough to get this creature inside. And what do you do?
I guess let's put him on top of the altar and poke a hole in him and hope that blood comes out instead of something else.
Fibia, your instincts have been great. If you'd like to do the honors.
Oh, no, that's all right. I don't got the little cutter hands.
But I do have, and so you hadn't really been an opportunity for this to kind of show. But she does have those sort of like switchblade bone weapons that she's got.
You're gonna Wolverine it.
So yeah, she's gonna locate what she thinks is some sort of artery and
I can help as a surgeon. Cut it down, not across.
Between Fibia and Khalil carefully cutting and carving your biomancy skills, Khalil's surgical skills. Like the scene from The Shining when the elevator opens, just like a wave of blood pours over top of this altar, just coating and soaking, drenching it in this kind of dark off red blood. And you watch as the lights open up and then become just blindingly bright, and to the point where everyone kind of has to sort of look away. And then when the light finally dims, you look back and the door is gone. There's nothing there. There's a large kind of hole in the area, and you see this kind of ratty-looking ladder that seems to descend downwards into the creature, or into the structure.
So Thon is going to go over to this creature and just sort of say some words that, this was all in the service of the True Mother. Your sacrifice will be rewarded. And then she'll fast walk back up to the rest of the group, going through the...
So, like, we fed it, and now we gotta go inside and, like, probably punch the heart back into shape.
Yeah.
Punch the heart.
Punch the heart. Okay, so as you get through, you can see it's like a shaft that seems to go down. It's got these plasteel grips, these kind of rusted handles here and there. You start climbing those down, leads to what these looks like, almost like these sort of aged smooth steps. But as you kind of place your feet on them, they don't have like a very firm, like your feet almost kind of sink slightly. You can't tell if this is bedrock, bone. The substances that you're moving through are just, it's hard to really kind of pinpoint. Like at times this seems like a creature, at times this seems like a structure. It's got this biomechanical quality to it. Eventually the shaft gives way to this massive chamber. It takes maybe about a 10-minute descent down the ladder and down these steps. And you see like these, just a grand series of what, honestly, Fibia, you get a sense as you see these little lights that are kind of moving here and there. And as you look, you notice that there's some kind of glowworm beetle thingies kind of moving about on the undercarriage of the ceiling here, or on the underside of the ceiling, I mean. And it kind of gives this illuminated quality to it. And you look out like this sort of massive chamber with all these almost like ruins. They look like archaeological ruins to you then as you're looking at it. They have kind of almost like a skyline feel to it. Like you're seeing structures, buildings, like a spire, a dome, this and that. Like something's been built within this, which is quite strange. And the more you begin to descend, sort of weaving down these stairs, this ladder, the more complex a lot of these ruins become. You start noticing on the side, there's these increasingly strange, like alien fossils that are like built into the walls as well. Like they're just kind of making very, very little sense. Like you're seeing like what looks like arthropodal plant creatures that have been hollowed out within some of the walls. You see what look like these kind of compacted, like almost like whales shapes that kind of built in, not too dissimilar from those that are like in the lake near the Violet City. Like everything kind of has this sort of weird etched in quality to it. Like it looks fossilized to a degree. But as you start to descend and move and you see the paths begin to split out in all sorts of these different directions, you also hear like the sounds of skittering from time to time. There's like a series of like these interconnected halls and chambers, and it's almost dizzying in terms of how massive this place is. I want someone to give me some kind of like navigational test as you're trying to find some kind of... Oh, I think Dan is volunteering his teapot.
I have navigation as a skill specifically.
Yay!
It is
That's
the only
perfect.
reason.
Yay!
Absolutely perfect. Yeah, this is your time. This is your time to shine. Let's get that natural.
I mean, that means I'm probably gonna roll like 2 2s or something like that.
Plus or minus 7 for Dan on this roll. What do you think?
I'll go plus because we do have a free heroic from chat from Adam.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'll go ahead and use
Here
it then
comes the one.
to roll twice. Okay, all right. There's one.
14's good, actually. 14's really good.
And there was the 7. So
7, okay.
14
14 is good. It's not great in the sense that it's quick, but this is a very long time that you all spend. As you start descending even further, like you're going through what stops looking like ruins at other parts and starts looking like actual tissue. Like you're going through like tissue or like organ walls, lining, things like that. You notice that there's lots of chunks missing. You can see that there's a lot of translucence here and there where light is kind of glowing out from those arteries, similar to what you saw outside, but they seem more colorful here, whereas outside it was like kind of gray and dying. Inside, the deeper you go, the more life this sort of seems to have, as if the exterior parts of this are beginning to die out and the interior is kind of working in some way. You see these and then you start to see like what look like these ruined biomechanical artifacts, things sort of similar that you've seen before, almost like machines that are used to sort of dig things out, like these carved, compressed areas where like this fleshy bits are compressed like pearls. You can see a lot of these starfish creatures are moving around on the inside like parasites. They're burrowing, collapsing tunnels, creating others here and there. Every now and then you see like the flesh like wince and constrict. You can see tunnels collapse. And you start to hear sounds of like this deep moan, as if every time one of those larger tunnels collapse from these starfish kind of eating away at it, you hear like a painful moan squeal kind of coming from all around you, to the point where it like vibrates and shakes the entire cavern. But you get this sort of carnivory gone mad like feel, like everything's eating away at each other through down here. At other points you come across what like looks like this. At a certain point, like as you're weaving through some of these passages and things, you come to this enormous strange assembly that you haven't seen before. It's this rotating, grinding, tearing kind of crystalline mouth structure. It almost looks like this big old drill that has just been left inert and inoperable for quite some time. And you see that looking down, there's this dark bored hole into the tissue of this creature. You cannot see anything down it, but it seems like the last remaining kind of dead end. Otherwise, it's back towards that labyrinthine mixture of tunnels and ruins and things. But something was drilling kind of deeper into the building itself. Let's see.
Seems
Still
like
not out of my skepticism of going for the heart. Is there like any sort of like pulsating?
This is like reward basically for your success. Like as best you can tell, like you want to continue to go inward, and this bore in the ground here in the sort of the sediment seems to be what takes you inward.
All right. One of you go first.
Leap of faith.
Oh,
MSG leaps down. Okay.
I'll stretch out the skin on my ribs to be kind of like a little kite almost after watching Khalil do some gliding. Monkey see, monkey do.
Okay.
Oh my.
So we got an extra heroic, and I think Adam just threw out a
It depends. Is it
complication.
heroics or is it a complication?
It was preceded by all right, Jeff. So that's why I'm thinking complication.
Okay.
Oh no.
We can do that. What should we do for a complication? Okay. This is what we're going to do. Jeremy, roll because you're the one who hopped down. Roll. Oh God, there's just so many options here right now. Like we're in such a rich place. If we had more time, so many things we could do here. Okay, roll a d8. Jeremy.
Okay.
Everybody ignores me, Adam.
7.
Oh boy.
Lucky number 7.
Okay. MSG, you flatten yourself out, you stretch yourself out, you kind of weave your way down, and you kind of land, and you hear an echo as you land. And your feet land on what feels like hard plasteel, like it feels familiar. And like you can hear the echo, and everything else is very quiet down here. There's darkness everywhere. I don't know if you have any kind of dark vision or anything like that. But after you land and you hear the sounds of your feet and that echo throughout this dark corridor that you've landed in, you suddenly hear the sounds of like 100 of these same sounds of like that tinny metallic echo of feet on this metal. And then suddenly out of the darkness, something reaches out and grabs you. You
I've made a terrible mistake.
Some sort of parasitic-like, humanoid-like creature that's scuttling about on what, I don't know, these are random rolls. I'm not obsessed with arms. Scuttling about on these sort of 6 modified arms, wielding these strange shards of crystal, almost like some kind of bone. It kind of actually looks... Well, no, never mind. Yeah, this like sort of strange sort of like crystal bone, and they're like sort of stabbing out at you from the darkness, and they seem to be wielding shields of some kind of nickel iron platelets. As you are, Jeremy, roll a d6.
Oh no!
Add anything to it, or just?
Nope, just a straight d. This is just how many there are.
Okay. Oh. God.
Oh, roll low.
Roll 3.
3. Okay, that's not bad.
It feels pretty bad.
And
Do
they
you
all
yell
stab
anything
at
out?
you.
Oh God!
They're all
Okay.
going to stab at you. They're going to get each one of them. So there's 6 of them. So I'm going to do this, or excuse me, 3 of them. So I'm going to do this 3 times. First one's a 21. Second one's a 21.
Oh my gosh!
Third one's a 6.
They only have a
Wow.
+3.
They only have a
It's-
+3. I just
I have an
crushed my roll.
18. It should have been
Crazy.
harder than to
My
hit
roll.
me.
I know. First one does 4 points of damage. Second one does 2 points of
Okay,
damage.
that
as they
wasn't
just
so terrible.
stab away at this void, like with this like
Wow.
weird void crystal bone, and they hold their shields up. Do you shout anything at this point?
Oh God!
Yeah.
So, ow!
So all of you hear him, ow, and you hear the sounds echoing up from the bore. It's maybe 20, 30 feet down.
Jumping
you hear,
down.
Something's going on down there.
Jumping in.
Something's stabbing me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would I get the sense that because of the reduced gravity that's not far enough for me to take damage from falling?
Yeah, you doubt anyone's gonna. You doubt anyone would take damage dropping down there.
Okay. Yeah. I want to hop on down.
D20s only hate me, Adam, when I am the player. As a GM, dice seem to like me usually as
Yeah.
a DM in a weird
We
way.
get you playing some Pathfinder.
Yeah,
Nope.
you get me playing Pathfinder, I could build the greatest character. Doesn't matter. They'll hit 1 out of 27 shots. But when they hit that 1,
It's great.
it's beautiful.
Next time I run Pathfinder, I'm going to have you make your character using Forbidden Lands. And you'll just be using Forbidden Lands, and everyone else
Okay.
is using Pathfinder.
That's fair. That's definitely a balanced way, I think. Okay. Everyone hops down, and you guys see it's very, very dark, but maybe you have some ambient light here and there, so there's not a whole lot of light. But think of like a very dark,
My hands
metallic
glow?
corridor. Sure, yeah, your hands probably give off just a faint enough light so that if you're in melee range, you'll probably have enough. But you see MSG literally surrounded by these 3 6-legged proto-humans that are stabbing at him with this semi-glowing or semi-luminescent crystal, like these stabbing at him. I've went, so all of you can now go in whatever order you want.
I'd really like to be shooting them.
I'd like to shoot them.
MSG, go ahead and fire.
All right. So fortunately, since I maxed out the stretchy body thing, I actually get free advantage if I can, I twist my body off and away and get height on them basically to shoot down.
Absolutely, that sounds good.
So I'll try. Yep, I'm glad I have that. I'll probably take
target
the
of
second
11.
roll.
It's only an 11 for DC if you had a...
Okay.
Okay.
And then that does 2d10. Yeah, 2d10. Stop that.
Sorry, I hit the wrong sound. There we go.
Sorry,
That's
it's being
combat
funny.
sound right there.
There we
All
go.
right, so you hit with a 16 on one of these.
Okay.
7
Yes.
points of damage. Doesn't quite kill one, but you very near kind of blow off one of these 6 arms.
Do we get 2 actions?
You get 2 actions, yeah,
Okay.
as long as you're not moving.
I'm not moving. I'm just stretching up above, and there we go.
Roll damage with a 25 on the hit. That's very, very good. And 8 points will be enough to finish that one off. Yeah. So the first one, the one that probably missed, you kind of flail around, since this one sort of maybe stumbled a bit and didn't quite get you. You're able to catch that one off guard. Who's next?
I'll try and go too.
Yeah, go ahead.
No one else's. Yeah, I'll use my golem arm weapon and try and swing at the one, because there's one that's like holding him, right? That one's still up.
They kind of stabbed at him. He wasn't grappled or anything. They were just basically stabbing at him, surrounded him
Okay.
like in a sort of triangle formation, stabbing at him.
Okay, I'll just go for whatever one's closest and
Sure.
try and hit it twice.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty-
12 actually is good enough to hit. So is, and obviously the 20 would
Oh, wow.
be too. So that's both are hits. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, low EC for these.
And so this would be weapon damage plus strength.
Yes. That's fine.
So
With your I
that
forgot
would
about
be-
the golem arm. All right,
It's
maybe I do
bonkers.
have a thing with severed arms.
Oh
It's weird.
that's the first damage.
Oh my god.
oh my gosh.
22. is enough
Good
to-
God Almighty!
22
Wow.
will kill it in one fell swoop.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need the second.
Uh,
Jeez.
then can my second attack go to the other one?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
22.
Bonk bonk.
All
Oh
right.
my God!
Wow.
That was your
So
damage.
as
again,
everyone
wasn't it?
starts hopping down, Ensign's probably the first one down. MSG, you blow one away at point blank range with your big old rifle. It goes flying back. Ensign flies down, pulls the golem arm out, and just bops one, splats it on the ground, turns to the other, splats it down on the ground. And you look about, and you have 3 splattened, like these strange creatures in front of you, human-like, but not quite. They don't actually look at all like the creatures that the people that you saw occupying the honeycomb. They don't also look like the starfish that were kind of gibbering around here and there. These something different, something strange. But they
When
seem to be
Son
dead.
lands down there, she's just gonna sort of look around and just ask, like, do you not ever talk?
You know, it was the funniest thing. They just ran up on me and stabbed me before I could. I actually love to talk. That's my favorite thing to do. I love making friends.
It seems like it, but I mean, I suppose they did attack you first, so there's that. But and she just sort of looks at Ensign, like muttering under her breath, like, "Right, never to make him mad."
I like to think that the
Or
golem
surprise
arm
him.
is like now pretty close to the same size as my arms after that like surgery thing.
So, once you guys all get some sort of light out, you see you are in what looks like a constructed hallway, a very clearly constructed hallway of some kind. You can see along the way that there are like these sort of this residue of some kind of radiation that seems to kind of petrified or somehow affected some of both the metal that you're seeing and where the metal's been peeled away, what looks like some kind of organic tissue that was piercing through the metal. And it's all kind of this milky crystal that's, as you get further and weaving through and down this passageway, it's got this like iridescent quality to it. But eventually, like as these metal passageways that you're following, like in the sort of dodging some of these little radiation pits and things, you pass through what looks some kind of like Eden chamber. You see these like dead plants and animals, mummified or kind of crystallized, and like the radiation that's like seeping through. You get kind of a similar vibe from this large chamber that you did to that kind of arc-like room where you first stepped in, as if this was somehow like a preservation area. It's like someone was trying to preserve like this mix of different species. You see some of them are like, and somewhere in this room there's these enclosures that have been broken open. You can see others very similar to the creatures that you just fought and killed that have grown desiccated within some of these chambers, which is likely where these things came from, broken out of. Eventually, though, after probably about like half an hour of following Teapot, who's navigating these tunnels, you come to this austere kind of pyramid-like chamber with like a double vault ceiling at the top. You see these 4 great machine eyes embedded like in the walls around. And they've all kind of grown like milky white with like clearly age and sort of radiation, like literal eyes kind of staring at you. You see in the middle of this room where this cylindrical column flutes up into the ceiling, and there's all of these little needles and wires that are peeling and pulling from it. You can see that like that same kind of translucent material that you've seen elsewhere, and like this array of kind of crystalline structure inside of that fluted column is like sitting behind what looks like a throne, like where someone sits. You see consoles are all around this room, spread out in all sorts of different directions. It has like the feel of like a control room. You can see that there's like there's the central kind of throne, central seat. It's kind of elevated above all of these other consoles where these swing, almost looks like seats sort of swing out from under desks here and there. And you see at the far end of like one side of the room, there's this large screen, almost like a vidi crystal, like this huge vidi crystal. Right now it's just like this dusty black, but it almost like it's a view, like it's something that should be viewing, like you should be seeing, you know, seeing some kind of something through it, but it just seems black and dusty.
We can boop some things, or does my gray cube fit in anywhere? No. I've got to bring it up like 2 more times.
Roll a charisma test.
Oh my gosh. 17.
Ooh.
You move over to one of the consoles, and you notice that in the console there is a receptacle, a cube receptacle that
there it is.
The perfect size for your cube.
We made it do a thing by sheer stupidity.
That's awesome.
Do you place the cube in?
Yeah.
You place the cube in, and you see that the console lights up, and then all of a sudden, like a cascade effect, the whole room begins to light up. The screen, the vidi crystal, a huge view screen in front of you, flickers on like when a TV comes on, and you just see like you're like looking through some sort of, you're not sure if it's a window or not, but it just seems like this mass of like red and black, like it looks like it's being obscured somehow. But all of these lights come on, and then you see that central kind of fluted column try to flicker on a bit, where the throne, like where it's like the throne is kind of backed up into it, and all these needles and wires come up out of it, but then it kind of flickers back off, as if that central column is important, but doesn't seem to be sort of turned on by just the use of this small cube. That does seem to turn on some of these other consoles here and there.
Maybe we can figure out some more from there.
Did you say that there were some like chairs that were swinging out from?
Yeah. Teapot swung one out, sat down, and placed a crystal in a console, and that lit everything. Like, you get the feeling this is again like a control. Who here has got like some kind of Vomish tech? Does anyone have like familiar roll Vom tech?
I was trying not to do too many things at once.
Do all the things.
If this fits what your character's good at, man, do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'll spend a heroic on it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. It looks like I don't need it, so 24 is hopefully all right.
Okay, well, 24 will give you everything. You are in a bridge for some large vehicle of some kind. You've seen the porcelain walkers. You've seen some of the satrap structures. Like some of the porcelain walkers that you've seen from the porcelain princes are so interesting and advanced. It's different kind of tech than the spectrum satraps, but there's someone who controls it. There's someone who pilots it. There's someone who uses a view screen. There's someone in the case of like battle walkers that operate like weaponry and things like that. You are in some kind of bridge.
Maybe I should have also added the war using ancient war machines.
You would hazard a guess that all of these different consoles correspond to different
Parts.
different operational parts of this thing. So there could be something for engineering, there could be something for piloting, there could be something for for scanning, sensor data, communications, etc. What you're fairly sure of, but you're not 100% sure, is that throne with all the needles sticking out of it and the wires that are connecting to that central column is essential.
Yeah, I was wondering who's got to put their butt in that seat.
I'd offer to do it, but I don't think that works.
You know what? Last time, Teapot doesn't know this. He missed the opportunity to put his butt in the hot seat with the Momish Queen, so he'll feel the urge to go do it this time.
Do it. This is all you, Teapot.
Why not?
Yes.
Have at it.
You guys watch as Teapot sits down, and almost instantly you hear like a pneumatic as something releases, and the needles almost violently begin to just start to stab, like this rapid zipper tapering all the way up and over him. You, Teapot, you are immediately flooded, overwhelmed with information, status, system reports, as you feel this massive ship that is now suddenly, you have full and utter control. You are the brains of it. You feel its consciousness melding with yours, as if you are becoming the ship, as if the ship is becoming you. There's error reports, there's system malfunctions here and there, others seem to be fine. You also feel this strong emotional pull, as if not only are you in control of the ship, but you can sense its feelings, this emotional pull, this desire to kind of flee, to run, to escape in some way. And you have a full understanding of how this place works.
Awesome.
However, you are also no longer a Teapot, as you have
Oh.
literally merged and become the ship. You are the crystal ship.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
You know that this ship you're in is a void capable ship, meaning it is a spaceship nested within this
All
creature.
right.
You know that there are two options. I mean, you still retain some semblance of Teapot, and so you understand your emotions, your desires. There's two options here.
Mm-hmm.
If you all are looking to ascend into the sky, you know that there is this needle-like escape core that is safe, that it would sort of eject from this structure fairly easy. Probably wouldn't damage the near moon in its entirety, which means likely wouldn't cause any damage to the grasslands or anything like that. But you also know that iron needle is limited. There's a limited range, and it likely can't explore aspects of the void. And you are starting to get funneled with all sorts of this old data about the void, about the fast stars, about these spectrum palaces built in sort of a system of planets, about ruins of like old ancient ones that are built up on top of these distant systems. Like you're just being flooded with the more information you've ever had in your life. But you know that this iron needle only goes so far. The other option,
That sounds boring.
I know, and that's why I didn't put a whole lot of work into it, because I knew who I was cheering for. You can try to rip the entire crystal ship out of the near moon in its entirety. The pro is much greater rage. It is a it can travel to voids beyond voids beyond voids, right?
I'm sure
it's
we'll
also
only kind of
dangerous.
destroy the planet.
There's more than likely you can get from the reports. There's stuck force, which is like basically immovable chunks of force, like you can't do anything about it. And there's the potential that this could cause some sort of problem, either to the ship, to the near moon. It could create devastation for those that have built up their societies beneath the near moon.
Non-believers. After the gray cube fit teapot was in.
Okay. All right. So, if you decide to go this route, I mean, and in Teapot, you're still able to communicate with everybody, but everyone, when you hear him, he's talking a little differently. He's got that sort of robotic tinge to it a little bit.
I
but
hope
there's
I'm
still
like
elements of Teapot.
kind of coming out of like this ship around them, like the speakers or something.
Yeah.
It's going to take
Yeah.
me so long to get this furniture sorted out again.
So
There's a
here's
lot more furniture now.
here's how this is gonna work. I love, absolutely love that Dan's the one that's sat in the ship because he gets to make the final roll that determines everything.
No.
All of you, however, get to contribute a potential bonus to him, and that's going to
Okay.
determine how effective this is. And so, essentially, you all and Teapot and you all kind of work it out narratively, talk amongst yourselves. What do all of you do to try to kind of contribute? Like what console do you try to operate? Teapot can direct you to what they do. How do you try to like help? This doesn't have to happen all instantaneously, but it's more along the lines of like a skill challenge in a way, right? Or a skill endeavor or whatever. How are you trying to contribute to making sure the liftoff of the crystal ship is effective as it possibly can? And I will tell you that the higher is better, but the minimum, absolute minimum, and I'm not saying even this is going to be a good ending, is 11, but higher is better.
I
mean,
After you.
I know exactly what I'm going to do. I can't touch anything, right?
Sure.
But I can crawl up inside Teapot's nose. And I can give him my extra thinking power. Like, help arrange his furniture in real time for the most efficient
Ship
teapot
merging.
ever.
Yeah, you're giving him extra RAM. That's great.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Download an
download
extra RAM.
Downloading extra RAM. Where's Steven when we need him?
Nice.
For the last time, Chuck, can you please roll a soul juice for us here?
Yeah.
What's your AC teapot? Like, what's your defense?
It's 15.
15 is the DC.
Unfortunately, it's kind of high.
2
Okay.
audience heroics.
For the last time,
Yeah.
go soul juicing.
All right. I do have. I got 2 heroics, so I'm gonna do this with advantage on the first. So first roll's a 12.
Oh, look at that.
I'll stick with that second roll,
Yeah, I think that second roll of that
Wow.
22 looks really good. As
but
you,
I'm gonna spend my last heroic and throw another D6 on it.
Yeah.
you're good at 22. No, 20. You're not going to get any benefit for going higher than 22.
I know, but
Okay.
I'll spend the last one.
Okay.
Another
Oh my
6.
gosh.
Oh my god.
28.
You know what? You rolled so damn high. Instead of giving him a +1 on the final roll, you'll take a +2 for that.
Good.
So far,
I'm gonna
Tango
need
has
it.
contributed a
Yay.
+2, and that is what Tango does. Is he crawls up into the nostril of Teapot the Satrap.
Yeah.
Is helping. And you too, by the way, since you're up here, are getting overwhelmed with systems reports, all sorts of like this stored data. You get
Yeah.
the sense there's like other consciousness in here in some way. You feel like it might be, as the two of you are in here and there's increased RAM power, you start to see like these little flickering visions here and there in your mind, like of like the true mother, like this face, this smile, this sort of sense of thanks. Like you might be inside, like this whole thing that you're inside might be. And I realize the phrasing is terrible. The true mother here. What are the rest of you doing to try to contribute? As that is Tango has tasked himself with something.
You know what
I
you
know.
need? For razor sharp focus, caffeine is what you need for razor sharp focus.
I assume it's gonna be just like Spaceballs. Like there's a little port to.
I'm just shoving a funnel in your mouth.
Okay. And probably it would probably help everybody else out too, like having that reaction speed for who knows what's going to happen during takeoff. All right, roll for the
He will
last
brew
time
his final cup of coffee.
that we see on air. Hopefully,
The strongest cup of coffee.
Okay.
Let's see.
Again, we'll
coffee
use
machines for
Chuck's
two.
system as the higher the better.
I have nothing extra, so here we go. 22.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Anything over 20, I'm gonna give a +2 till.
You guys are making it so I almost have a chance.
I cannot wait until the one pops up. Okay. Everybody's getting hits of the strongest cocaine flavored coffee you could possibly imagine. Alert, energetic, awake. What are the rest of you doing to try to assist in this?
So this thing's like alive and is gonna have to emerge out. So I imagine it's gonna like open up and unfurl in some way. So I want to start going around and using my strength to try and like loosen up the places that
Oh yeah.
it might be stuck.
Oh yeah, you can go through. There's plenty of places where you saw like wrenching metal where you could try to repair some of that, kind of peel them back. You can see some of the sort of other elements that you can kind of peel back here and there, blend together. So you're doing some kind of repair work. You can add your strength. I know you want to add your strength. If you have a skill that's like for fixing, then you can take that. But I think you would still want
I was
something.
thinking more of like, because it also seems like there's stuff in here that's not supposed to be here. I was more like getting rid of and breaking off pieces that shouldn't be, or like things that have kind of like rust buildup or whatever, kind of brute forcing through all of the
Some real
stuff
elbow
missing.
grease in there.
Yeah. So I was going to try and use my reverse engineer on that.
Reverse engineer makes perfect sense. Yeah, okay. I'll take that.
Nice.
And that means proficiency and strength and d20, right?
Okay.
And our proficiency is +2.
Depends on your level.
And I'm going to burn
Oh, flight of the navigation.
2 heroics.
Okay. 17, 20s. Oh my god.
Ow.
All right. With a 26, you are going to find the most essential places to repair and remove foreign objects from essential vents, things like that might potentially clog or cause heating, overheating here and there. Likely directed by Teapot and Tango, who are trying to sort of meld a bit with the mind of the ship. Okay, up to a +6. MSG and Amphibia are left.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. What I'd really love to do is maybe do some piloting. I want to go out of this game doing a barrel roll.
There is, in fact, a piloting console, and Teapot and Tango are both able to point it out which of the many consoles in here is, in fact, the piloting console. Okay.
All right, then. Oh, look at that. It's 11 o'clock.
Okay, go ahead. Take it. Son of
I'm sorry.
That's all good. Take it. This is it.
Okay, no, I'll just roll with advantage, basically.
Okay, so you're gonna be the pilot. This is gonna be basically we're rolling it
Got
now, but
So I can roll 3 times and still have 1 left over. So,
Okay.
oh god. Yeah, let's try that
this will
again.
probably be your final roll.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'll toss a d6 on top of that, just because. There we go.
26. Again, I will give a +2 for this, and the total bonus that Teapot has so far is a +8. And so this will happen. So you're basically practicing going through, like maybe there's some kind of like idiot's guide to piloting that you're learning through, like as like they're showing you like the sort of the intro, like the orientation, and then this is how well you're digesting it and understanding it. Your cat-like reflexes are going to come in absolute handy here. And finally, Fibia, how do you contribute to the liftoff?
Thon is feeling a bit sort of out of sorts because she's very much like animal, natural, bone staff-y. So what I was thinking is that I do have archaeology, and so since Teapot wasn't going to go sort of back up kind of pre-made potentially kind of flight paths, trying to maybe give him an alternate like navigational path to go.
Okay. So you want to do some sort
Reach
of like
the surface.
astrogation, navigation type thing? Is that what you're looking to do here?
Yeah, I don't know if I can
Cartography or something?
carry archaeology to do something
Oof.
with that.
I don't
Or
think
just thought.
archaeology applies. I'll be honest.
Literally, my skills are all like necromancy, biomancy, animal husbandry, archaeology.
I mean, biomancy would be effective in the sense that a lot of this ship is biomechanical. Like, it's both mechanical and it's got... So much like Ensen's moving around, repairing a lot of the material and like repairing some... There's plenty of this sort of seeping flesh, this mixture of flesh and metal that's making this ship up. So you could lend aid to that, possibly.
I will do that.
I will direct you to the reddest flashing screen areas.
Would that be a
Carving
thought?
out. I think thought. Yeah, thought makes sense. Thought, biomancy,
Okay. So
and yeah, Teapot, Tango, kind of directing you to the parts of the ship that are essentially in need of repairs. And you have two different repair people going on here. You have
Okay. So I'll spend a heroic on the front end to do
Stop.
Advantage, and then I'll spend another one at the end for the d6. So thought is
Broken.
4, and it's a skill, so that's going to be +6.
Okay. Oh, no. It's an 8.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
You have another d6 to roll.
Can I spend... Did anybody use the community heroics? No? Okay. I'm
Not
gonna
yet, but
spend one of those.
if I could use those for D6s.
I'll tell you right now, an 8's not getting you a bonus. If you get over 11, you can get a bonus.
Yeah,
you get a
I'm
plus
gonna,
1 at least.
I'm gonna
To
do...
Dan's roll.
I'll spend one of the heroics. I've got to roll better. And then add a d6 to that for my last one. 20 exactly.
20 on the okay, so 20 on the dot will take you
I
to...
was useful.
I'll give you the +2 since you got to 20.
All right.
All right, Dan. It's been hours, days maybe, in the process of all this, between repairing things, learning how to fly, starting to understand the ship, and it becomes very, very clear to you that this is the true mother. Like, that she is communicating with you. She has been sort of trapped and stuck here, and you're finding a way to help not just yourselves ascend, but help her ascend. She doesn't want to be here. She wants out, and somehow you all are the ones that are trying to help her get out of here. Before all this happens, she feels a great sense. You can both you and Tango feel this, like this sense of nervousness and anxiety, but also excitement at finally being able to be free. But she's also very concerned because she's not in great shape. Despite the repairs, which she's in better shape, probably the best she's been in eons, but it's still quite dangerous. So you get to roll the final roll. Guess what the skill is there, Dan? Or guess what the attribute is?
I hope it's thought.
It's thought.
Yay.
You're going to roll thought. If you have any kind of...
I've got navigation and Vomtech.
I will. Okay, go ahead. And you can apply your You can apply your proficiency, and then you
Alright.
also get a +10 from the rest of them.
All right. That puts me at a +15.
Okay, you have a big bonus, but a natural 1 is a natural 1, and
Yes.
the worst possible ending will happen. So if you want to burn that last heroic to get the advantage, that's fine.
I'm thinking, because if we got one community heroic left, right?
We do.
And I have 5 more myself.
Oh my god.
I banked a bit.
What are you even worried about?
Jeez.
So I'll
This is easy.
roll.
Got
I'll
some
use
bank.
half of them for rerolls and half
Okay.
of them to add D6s.
Oh my
Wonderful.
gosh.
I'll tell you this, that a 20 or above is literally the best scenario. So once you hit that point, you're probably good.
All right. So we'll do our 3 d20s plus 15 first.
Okay.
Okay.
Woo! Yeah!
Let's see if I can nat 20 one of them. I did.
35.
Oh my
Natural
God.
20.
Nat 20.
And with the clutch.
Wow.
Are those last
Rapping on a
3d6
nat
on
20.
there?
The most
Oh my
unexpected
God.
outcome.
Three
my
more
gosh.
d6. They have roll 3 more d6. There's no. That's the last roll of the game. So
There was
let's-
no
let's see
roll
where you get
under
at
a
to.
15. Go damn.
Wow.
I thought for sure you all were gonna explode.
I assumed
And then
that we would
what
all
would have happened
explode.
is you would have exploded, and then the near moon would have imploded on you.
There's your
God.
ones and
It's
twos, Dan.
awful.
There they are.
They were.
There they were.
Still a total of a 44, which is a bit overkill. So
What is it?
the process for turning the ship into its full, you get the engines going, everything. It starts to hum. The whole entire ship begins to shake. You can feel like the vibrations on like the metal paneling. You can see like this like rapid constricting of the flesh that kind of are seeping through here and there. Heat just begins to overwhelm you as everything, as like the radiation from the engines that are buried somewhere within this thing begin to sort of curl on a bit. And despite this sort of bumpy opening as the ship tries to wrench itself free from this moon satellite that it kind of crashed into, it seems, and embedded itself within, it eventually wrenches forth. It like wrenches free, and like a tumor excising itself. And you guys feel a sudden sense of like gravity sort of shifting, getting lighter. All of you kind of quickly scramble. Teapot probably knows to get you all into seats. You strap down. Once you're wrenched free from the near moon, MSG, the controls are suddenly yours, and you're being fed various data from Teapot and Tango about like where to go, angles of ascension here and there, speed, velocity. Fibia, Ensen, you're both kind of being directed from time to time to kind of go repair this or repair that. Khalil, just sipping coffee, kind of looking around, kind of in the captain's chair, overseeing everything as it happens. And you all ascend. Different blips show up on some of the consoles, like indicating like different chunks of like invisible stuck force that MSG has to literally weave the entire ship around, or it'll wrench like this massive hole throughout the entire vessel. But eventually, the ship pierces through that haze that covers the entirety of the grassland, that causes all those strange colors to the sky as it partially occludes the sun. You get like sensor data, maybe you throw up on your overhead vidi crystal there. You look back at the near moon itself, and there's this massive chunk missing from it, but somehow it doesn't lose its sort of gravitational force. It still seems to hover. Bits of small rock and debris are like cascading to the ground here and there, but there's nothing to be done about that. That's the minimum amount of damage that could be caused. Likely some of the tourist industry is going to be a little bit hurt by this, but overall it could have been so much worse. You make it through the haze, and as you do, you were immediately bombarded, Teapot, Tango, by all sorts of signals, messages, like these distant and near signals that are popping up left and right. There's all sorts of those eyes that you saw, those milky eyes kind of glaze back, and you have all these little portholes to look at. You can see these fast stars kind of floating by. You're starting to line up some of those signals and messages you're getting. You see these what look like elaborate space stations and other types of things that are just flying by. Some of them have a very distinct sort of spectrum satrap design, like these, like much like their temples on the ground, there's these massive sort of sky temples that are just floating in orbit around, some moving slowly, some moving quickly. Some of the messages that you're getting are these automated sort of machine things as they're cycling through like dozens and dozens of different languages, occasionally kind of sneaking up on one or two that you're able to sort of discern. In addition to like all of those different beacons and things that you're getting overwhelmed with, you feel this just absolute clarity this feeling of gratitude, like just sort of washing over Teapot and Tango, who's inside of his brain as well. This excitement, this sense of freedom. And like, you look around and there's all these different points of interest, things to inspect, things to like look at, spaceships to dock with, or space stations to dock with, other ships, other planets popping up here and there. And that's where we're going to end, on the possibility of where you all in a freaking spaceship can now take your exploration beyond the grasslands and into the void beyond.
Hey, we did a good thing.
That's fantastic.
Yay.
We managed to not even ruin it.
Yeah.
I thought for sure
clutch.
when Dan sat down, I was like, oh no. They're gonna
bro.
the crit. So anything below like a natural one, the crystal ship explodes, followed by a wrenching implosion of the near moon, and everyone is compressed by highly pressurized earth and stuck force. Everyone, even Tango, dies.
Oh, God.
Oh no.
Oh,
That's
No,
gonna happen.
not me.
It was there.
Wow.
Other things could have happened too, like huge chunks of like you could have brought the near moon with you if you did a poor job of like wrenching free, and then it would have fell back down to earth and just blown up and created this massive like rippling effect and everything. There's all horrible things that could have potentially happened.
Oh my
Nice.
gosh.
But you wrenched the ship free. You literally took the True Miller up to space, and you have a sentient spaceship to explore the galaxy in. And maybe we'll I
Yay.
think we might play that campaign at some point down the line, as we might do that at some point. There's a couple
That
different
sounds
resets.
fun.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's our Ultraviolet Grasslands campaign, the Prophets of the True Mother.
Nice.
We'll have to remember to call the spaceship Teapot at that time.
Yeah.
Teapot.
Oh, God.
It's gotta be the
Meanwhile,
Teapot.
cut scene to our caravan with everybody like, I don't think they're coming back.
It's like the credits montage, just the credits are coming up. You
Yeah.
just see like the skeletal people. Like, do we keep the megapede now?
Right?
Did we have that like student that we were like
Yeah.
helping to get somewhere?
We
Yeah,
ditched
she's
them.
like, I really need to go finish this paper. Yeah. The thief
Yeah,
and everything who's got all
We
the
had
feet,
like no
clockwork feet.
actual sentient crew left other than like those couple people who came along with us.
Yeah. At the end, like you picked up a couple of those people towards the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did
It's
it.
good. Yeah.
We made it to space.
You made it to space. So season 2 will be, I don't know, down the line. We're going to be playing, so next we're going to be playing Holler. Tears for Fears. I've been listening to a ridiculous amount of Tears for Fears lately for some reason. It's been in my head a lot lately. But we're going to be playing Holler next, but I definitely have got the idea now, and a couple people mentioned this elsewhere too, got the idea of running like a sequel to this sort of, probably have to use a different system. I have a couple systems in mind of like a zany sort of Farscape like space exploration, almost like Spelljammer like, I think is sort of more what it's
Nice.
less hard sci-fi like we're doing in our Traveler game, but more like
Mm-hmm.
fantasy sci-fi stuff. So I have a couple ideas for that, but that could be something down the line after Holler. We'll see. But that's
All right.
that's the plan.
That makes Dan wash.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Okay, let's do a closing roundtable here. Let's see what everyone's up to. Bert, what do you got going on this week?
Yeah, I've got nothing going on this week. Technical issues all around. I might get things back on track by Sunday for a Boot Hill 3rd edition game, but unlikely, but it's possible. It's at twitch.tv/Steam Steel Murder.
Yep. But check out your podcast stuff still up, Blue Magic,
Yeah.
YouTube page. You can catch, he's got tons
Everything
of
up,
stuff. So
still up. There's more than a decade worth of audio on bluemagic.com, BLUMAGIK. So yeah, go
awesome.
listen to some of that.
Chuck, Defenders.
Oh, snap. Wednesday, we're doing Thunder Rift using Forbidden Lands. Thursday, we got some Curse of Strahd using 5th Ed. Saturday, we're doing Shadowrun using the Year Zero engine. And I guess that was Friday. And then Saturday, I guess I need to come up with something for our show on Goodman Games.
I can
you run?
probably run it still. I just have to get everything I have hard copies for that game, so I don't have to open up another screen.
Okay. Well, we can sort that out later. But
Yeah.
Saturday, Goodman Games for Danger Stranger, and that's what we got for the week.
Awesome. Jeremy, tell us about this Patreon.
Yeah, check out Iron Reese on Patreon. You get comics, you get RPG assets, you get maps. It's pretty awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, I think I've gotten 2 sets of assets so far, and that's just like within a month now. So definitely plenty of stuff coming out. As for Melissa and I, Friday, Traveler. We just did our Traveler character creation last Friday. It's up on YouTube this morning, so you can check that out. A lot of fun, and we're actually going to start playing Deep Night Legacy on Friday. Saturday, we're back to One Ring Second Edition. We're going to be doing the Yule Fellowship phase for the first time, which is sort of a celebratory downtime thing, as we just beat a big boss that we've been working toward for a while. Next Monday, in this slot, we'll be playing Deadlands. You can catch a lot of familiar faces in that game. And in 2 weeks, instead of UVG, we're going to be moving on to Holler, a new Savage Worlds game. I think everyone here is still going to be in the game. We played it a couple times on our channel already. One shots, Jeremy, Melissa, myself. We're going to do a proper plot point campaign, see how everyone else likes it. It's a lot of fun, so come check that out. But that is it for us. Ultraviolet Grasslands has been really fun. Despite how 16, 17 episodes, something like that we've got, there's so much more we probably could have done because there's great content in the book.
So many places to go.
Easily could run 2 or 3 more campaigns in this without even seeing anything the same twice. So highly recommend it. Everyone should go check it out. Grab a copy of it. But that's it for us. Thanks to everyone who hung out. Thank you for those of you who threw out some bits to help out the players in the end. We're going to go ahead and raid somebody if you want to hang tight. Let's see. We can do a little TPK roleplay, it looks like is up. Go ahead and give them a raid. And we'll catch you later. Good night, everybody.